Hi everyone, and welcome back to Japan This Week. Today's discussion will revolve around LGBTQ rights. As always, if you like my content, please leave a like and subscribe. Let's take a look at the most recent news regarding same-sex marriage in Japan. And to do so, we have to talk about Andrew Hai. Andrew Hai is a US national who lived in Japan since 2010 with his partner Kohei, a Japanese citizen. They got married in 2015 in the US and then moved back to Japan. Mr. Hai first went to Japan on a student visa and then stayed with a business one. He applied for long-term residency 5 times but got rejected, mostly because of the terrible immigration policy Japan has and because their LGBTQ rights have little to no protection. In 2019, he sued the government, trying to overturn the rejections and get a compensation, since to a heterosexual couple, that same right would have been granted. And last Friday, the 30th of September, the Tokyo District Court issued its ruling. Hai is not eligible for a long-term visa nor a compensation, which always happens when suing the government, but the residency status should have been granted to him under the Designated Activities Visa. And what is this visa? Basically, it's what was introduced to allow foreign same-sex married couples to stay in Japan, if one of them was already a long-term resident. Overall, Japan visa policies are extremely restrictive. I should make a standalone video only to talk about that. Suffice it to say that because of a point awarding system that was introduced lately, if you know the language at a native speaker level, have a master's degree, have at least 5 years of professional experience and are above 30 years old, you score only 55 points out of 70 required to get yourself a permanent visa. But immigration issues aside, as far as I can understand, the problem here stems from the fact that one of them is a Japanese national. In case they were both foreigners and one already had a long-term residency, the other person could have applied for the Designated Activities Visa, which most likely would have been granted. But in a case like this, a binational couple where the foreigner doesn't have a long-term visa, there is a normative void. Therefore, the ruling of the court, which Hai himself doesn't consider a win for LGBTQ rights in Japan, is not a loss either, because it fills a void with a clear indication and admonishes against discrimination based on sexual orientation, which should be indirectly protected by Article 14 of the Japanese Constitution. Japan is still the only G7 country that doesn't recognize same-sex marriage, and which is severely lacking in protections for LGBTQ minorities. This comes to the surprise of nobody, since Japan is one of the most conservative countries in the world. We're talking about a nation where an assembly member can post an incredibly homophobic comment on Facebook and face no consequences other than faking a public apology, and where, as reported by the Mainichi Shimbun, a 90-page pamphlet talking about homosexuality as a curable personality disorder has been documented circulating between the right-wing Liberal Democratic Party lawmakers. On the right side, most of the times there's a situation like the one Andrew Hai and Kohei are in, the fight ends up in court, and in recent years we've seen more and more judges going in a gay-friendly direction. Moreover, in June, Tokyo became the latest city to issue partnership certificates to same-sex couples, which will help them access services, action that was followed by 8 other prefectures. For what concerns public opinion, according to a survey by the Asahi Shimbun, in March 2021, 65% of the population was in favor of marriage equality, and most surprisingly, in the last general election, there were 4 openly LGBTQ candidates. In conclusion, the issue unfortunately remains, and in my opinion, it will for a long time. Social changes in Japan happen very slowly, given the relative social isolation the country persists in keeping. And family itself is an institution that was incredibly important and structured in pre-war Japan. And even after the war, changes happen very slowly when not jolted by an external influence. That's it for this week. Initially, I also wanted to talk about the most recent missile crisis with North Korea, but the situation is still developing, and also this has been a very tough week for me. Nonetheless, I hope you liked the video. And as always, thank you for watching. See you next time.